Now, I mentioned earlier about how governments, state, federal and local, have a habit of trampling over the rights of small business. They don't understand often the damage that they do. When they decide to upgrade a road, put in a rail line, shift a department or change the rules, they often create unintended consequences. Around Australia right now, we're pretty happy, I think, that there's extra infrastructure on the way. New roads in Melbourne, a train line to the airport there. In Queensland, there's the new light rail, isn't there, down to the Gold Coast, and a second airport and heaps of new rail in Sydney. But there can be a downside, especially if there's incompetence, of course, and the Sydney Light Rail project is a case in point. It's badly overdue and over budget. Businesses along its length have endured a construction site disrupting their trading for year after year. The project's now getting close to opening, but some of the traders along its route have already gone. They're now suing the government for their losses, financial and more. One of those businesses was the Book Kitchen Café in Surrey Hills. A co-owner was Amelia Birch. She joins me now. Thanks for joining us, Amelia.
Thanks, Chris.
I was taken by your story reported in the Weekend Australian over the weekend that tells the story. It's a typical story in small business. You and your then husband have a dream. You're both in hospitality, have owning your own place.
Yep.
So you sink everything. It's not just money, that's hours, time, passion, energy into the Book Kitchen Café. Tell us about that project, how it was going, how much you loved it.
Well, it was a great project. It was something that we started just after we got married. Dave was a chef. I was working front of house. It was the perfect opportunity. And we walked straight into an amazing business that had been running for about 4 years previously. We ran it 7 days a week, like you say. It was busy, it was trading well, and we grew it over the 8-year period that we were there, and had amazingly loyal customers, and it was our life, like you say.
Now, people who don't know Sydney, this is an inner city part of Sydney. There's a lot of people living there, cafe lifestyle. Also, a lot of people coming into that area to work, so it would have been busy, happy. Now, when you first heard that there's a light rail project, a tram line effectively going to go down the street in front of you, you might have thought this is going to be great, right? It's going to bring more people into the area and lift business. Look,
I'm not anti-progress at all. I was shocked. I was surprised initially when I heard it, purely that it was coming down Devonshire Street due to the nature of the street. But I didn't really think too much of it at the time.
Yeah, it's a pretty small street, but you would have thought that there might be opportunities out of it. One thing that struck me is when you raised questions about how disruptive this would be, what did they say to you?
Well, it's almost laughable. It is laughable. They told us to go to Bali for 6 months. Just, you know, stop everything, put a halt, tell your staff you'll be back in 6 months, and to just stay waiting in the wings.
This is where they just don't understand how a small business operates. Their cash flow is everything to you. Your outgoings for rent and staff don't stop. You have to keep making money, yet they put up barricades and huge blocks that disguise your place and make it hard for people to get there.
Correct. I think that the thing that they don't realise is that hospitality especially is not an industry that can go online. So it means that we bear the costs of rising bricks and mortar costs that are irrepressible, especially in an inner city location. And rents you can't stop paying your rent. So it puts you in a tricky spot.
Well, it's more than a tricky spot, right? You've got a thriving business, your livelihood depends on it and your staff, and suddenly there are barricades there, suddenly it becomes a construction site. It's not your doing, it's just forced upon you. Now, how dramatically and quickly did your revenue, for instance, your cash take drop?
Well, it took us about 2 weeks to notice an impact initially. Hoardings were 2.5 metres from our front door, completely covering the view, as you can see in the photos there. And it meant that friends of mine who knew we were open thought that we were closed.
Right.
They actually couldn't see the doors open and they couldn't see signs of trading. Pedestrians were being encouraged to move to the other side of the road. Hugely detrimental things for a business that relies on its shop presence and its north-facing aspect.
I just find it inconceivable that anyone would not look at that, the government and project operators, and realise that this just kills your business, that you are killed stone dead while this happens, and that there must be straight away some sort of either management system put in place to help you out or compensation, because, as you said, all they said to you was perhaps you can just shut up and go away for 6 months.
Yeah, I think that the reality is that the New South Wales government, has forced a lot of businesses to close down throughout this process, and a lot more to trade insolvent, which is an unfortunate situation to be in. And then the bureaucrats stop you at every turn and tell you that you haven't followed the process correctly and you haven't applied with the right form, and you're not available to get the government assistance that you need.
Now, you're one example, but there are hundreds of businesses just in this project alone that have been affected, and you're now taking legal action?
We are. 150 businesses have put forward a class action to fight the New South Wales government to say this is wrong.
And you're looking for financial compensation, effectively, for the loss of your business, your livelihood?
Look, yes. I think that our business it was a thriving 7-day-a-week operation, and we lost a lot of money out of it. We didn't just lose money, we lost a lot of things. But the way that the government needs to rectify these issues is to make a financial contribution, not just to us, but to all of the people that are affected. 150 businesses, that's huge. You
say other things have suffered as a result of this. Your marriage is over. Do you believe this has all played a role in that?
Look, marriages are complex and a lot of different things come and go, but the pressure that we had to face day in and out in the lead-up, and as a result of, definitely had an impact on us. That
dream of your own small business and presumably building it up over many, many years, that's gone now for that project? Do you get up? Do you do it again? Do you dream of doing that again, or is it just too dispiriting?
Sure. Look, I'm not a negative person, as you can tell. I don't like being a victim, and I find it really hard to sit with the concept that I didn't do anything wrong, and yet I'm in this situation where 2 years on I'm still having these conversations. But I am a fighter, and I believe that in this situation it's allowed me to come to this point now with a better perspective. So I look forward to what life is for me in the future.
Well, I hope you get some sort of result out of the government. I know these legal processes are obviously complicated, but everybody in New South Wales, anyone watching around the country, can see what this project did to businesses, and you deserve some sort of compensation. The laughable thing, of course, is because the project's been so badly managed and drawn out so long over time and over budget, even if you had been in some bizarre situation able to close your business and disappear for 6 months, you still wouldn't have been able to open when you got back.
That's right. 4 years later.
4 years later. It is extraordinary. What do you think the key problem is here with government and small business in particular? They seem to be pretty good at dealing with big business, but what is it they don't get about small business?
I don't know. I think you're right. I think that they're under a lot of pressure from the big side of town, and there's a lot of politicising of these issues, which is unfortunate. I think that they've lost their touch with the small business operators, who are effectively the ground of what our economy is. This is an economy that we are talking about here, a local economy, and multiple local economies. That it's not just us, it's our staff members who lose their jobs, that potentially become unemployed. It's the suppliers that lose clients. It's the customers that lose their hub, their local home, that their vibrancy, all of those things are directly impacted by this.
Well, it looks like it's going to be great. The project will be great and the area will be buzzing again, but you won't be part of it, which is very sad. And good luck with your legal pursuit here with the other traders, and keep us up to date with what happens.
Thanks, Chris.
That's Amelia Birch there, who ran the Book Kitchen Café on Devonshire Street in Surrey Hills. When you're around this country and you're running a small business, you hear about these infrastructure projects coming your way, you'll be pleased, but you have every reason to be very, very worried and sceptical. We want to make sure you know exactly what they're doing and that they can do whatever they can to protect your rights.